Hi everyone, so on the last video concerning isolation valves, yes, these little beauties here, we looked at all the problems associated with them. If you haven't seen that one, I'll give you a link to it above my head here somewhere if you want to have a look at that before we go on to the next video, because there's actually a valve that is far worse than the isolation valve. It's actually been around for a very long time, and in actual fact when you first fit this valve it is quite okay for possibly a year or two, and then it starts to cause trouble. So what valve is this? The gate valve. Yeah, now this little beauty is fine when it's first fitted, alright, it works for the first few years, but leave them alone for a little while, and especially if you live in a hard water area and the lime scale starts to get a grip on this valve. Now the reason for fitting these is that they're a four-way valve, you can see right through there, okay, and the idea, it doesn't restrict the flow at all like say a stopcock would, or indeed those isolation valves would. So you get a full flow right through there. So the idea with these is that you turn a gate shut. Now you'll see this gate suddenly close across, well not suddenly, slowly turn across shall we say, and you can see the valve gradually closing over, and when you get to there, that's it, it's finished. Now these do work fine when they're new and there's no corrosion, but give them a few years and they cease working, all sorts of problems happen. You'll find these stuck and jammed. Now mainly you'll find these in an airing cupboard next to your hot water cylinder, and you may even find them up in the loft coming out from the back of your roof tank. And if you have a cold feed that feeds the bathroom with low tank pressure, then you'll find two of these up in the tank, one for the hot and one for the cold. This is common, this is how they've been fitted all their lives, but when you go to use them, they never really work. But let's just take the top off of one, I'll show you quite how they actually work. So I have another one here, I've undone the top. Now as you can see, here we have it. There's the gate, and you can see that it sits in there. So on one you can see the corrosion inside there as it's been in a little while. It's still working though. Let's see that if I can take this right off of here. It's got an anti-clockwise thread. Now I've known these okay, take two. So after a change of shirt, what can go wrong? Okay, let's see. There's a valve and there's a gate. Now as you can see, that gate has got to sit in level with that so that it kind of can move up and down. So if you remember that it can only move that way in and out, it can't turn. Alright, so it's kind of fixed in the slot as it were. Now if I take the body away, if you remember that has to stay like that. So when you turn the valve off, you can see that it has to come out and close the valve as it gradually goes down the thread there. Okay, as I showed you earlier, it can come off the thread, but that rarely happens, but it can. Most times the corrosion on the bottom of there stops it closing properly, or indeed it will snap somewhere, because that thread is the weak link. That's where the corrosion lies, and that's where you will get the actual problems with this valve. Okay, hard water areas especially. We'll turn it back up now so you can see how that slides down into the slot. If you see that now, you can see it's a lot further into the valve now. But if I put that there level there, you can see it will be shut. Alright, and that's how they work, and that's why you get problems, because that thread is the weak link. This whole mechanism is the weak part about it. Gate shut, handle not working. What do you do now? Yeah, bit of a problem, isn't it? Means you've got to go and drain that roof tank out up in the loft, and when it's all down, then you might be able to change this valve completely for another one. Now back in the old times, there was no other type of valves. We had to use these gates and replace them with another gate valve. But nowadays we've got the full way bore valve, so the lever on it, which I'll show you. Yeah, that's the one, and we can change this whole valve with one of those. So what I'm saying to you here really is you could actually change that valve now before it goes wrong for a four-way valve, and alleviate the problem maybe later on when you need to get that valve off. Now It's always been a problem with these things. They've been going like this for ages. They're just shockers in the worst order, worse than the, shall I say, the isolation valve. So if you've ever had this problem, you can see what kind of happens. Now the other thing that happens, I'll screw this back on, is that the actual valve corrodes badly. It just corrodes inside, especially in hard water areas, and once it's corroded, it won't move anyway. Now spin that back up there. You've got to line that back up with the slot to go in there. Put it back in, and in it goes. I'll put that back. Well, I'll put that back down. I'll show you the other one. So basically, you end up with trying to turn this valve off, and it doesn't move. So you get a pair of grips, you put them on it, and then snap the handle clean off. And if you see just a brass piece sticking out, you know that valve's been busted for a long time. You won't be able to move it, and the handle's probably gone, and a lot of them are like that. Then you know someone's tried to get that off, and it's just snapped off and gone. Now I've got a video on trying to ease these off, where you have to do it a little bit at a time to get more and more movement to save breaking that off. There is a video I've done on that. So that's the other way, is just if it is stiff and solid, to try and move it, just to graduate a little bit and a bit more and a bit more at a time until it kind of maybe shuts that gate. And the other thing with these gate valves, of course, is that when you close them right down as hard as you can, so you shut that gate right off, in your opinion, and then you open the hot tap, it's still running, but not fast. It's slowed it down because there's something on the gate. It's corrosion. It's not going to shut properly. That means that you're going to get water all the time on the job while you're working on it. So when that happens, I usually drain the roof tank, forget the valve, and do it that way. But that's the other problem. They never quite close properly. There's always a bit of water getting past them. So that is their other main problem. So it's not easy with these things. They've been a nightmare, but they are a necessity in the fact they must keep that full bore way open and running. So change them for the full bore valve lever, and you get the full flow as this, but none of the troubles of these things where the gate falls off or the gate stays solid. Now, other thing to watch with these, if you have managed to get it right off and you think, well, it's only a little bit running out the tap, I think I'll see if I can get it a little bit harder, and then you get a pair of grips on this handle and turn it a little bit more. You do that, and then your fatal thing happens. The water might have gone down a bit more slowly for you to work the job. You come to turn it back on, put the grips back on, and it snaps. And what will happen is that handle will just keep turning forever, because the gate is stuck in there. Like I've showed you on that old valve, the thread has snapped. That's this part has snapped off. So you find the whole thing is broken. That is locked inside your valve, and that is snapped off. And then you've got that problem then of trying to move this valve with a full load of water above you. The only way you can do it is to empty the roof tank right down below the pipe outlet, and then you can get this changed. So more problems than they've ever been worth. I used to be a time where I'd barely ever try a gate valve in the end, because they always seem to not work or not get it off properly. Unless I saw it was a new one and it turned straight away easy with your hand, then you know, this is probably going to work because it's quite new. So then times I'd know you'd be alright. So if you have got valves in your cupboard, you probably will have these gate valves. Do give them a try, see if you can turn them. If you can turn them, then do turn it once a year at least, on off, on off, on off, on off a few times, just to stop the calcium and the lime scale and that getting on the thread and stopping that valve from turning. It's worth doing, and it will make sure that valve will work. But if you go there and the valve isn't working, like I said, don't push it, don't push it. You can try to loosen it if you want to with a back and forward motion, but if it doesn't work for you and it's really too stiff, then you've got plenty of time between now and anything going wrong to renew that valve with the full bore lever. And that's my advice. If you've got one of these gate valves, turf it out if it's not working, and put in the lever. If it is working and it's fine, then do keep turning it on and off once or twice a year at least, just to keep the thing moving so it doesn't seize up on you and be completely useless. Once, probably every 2 years actually would be enough, but it's up to you. Depends how thorough you'd like to be. If that valve wants to be free of moving, it's down to you. If you don't move it, it will go solid, okay, and be completely useless. So that's it. That's all I want to say about gate valves. And as I say, probably the very worst valve in the world, they are. And so you find them mainly on F&E tank systems. You won't get them people with a combi because we've got mains, and we've got stopcocks, which are another whole problem altogether. They again are a nightmare. I know shutting those on and off, same sort of things happen. If you don't turn them once or twice every year or two, they will seize up as well. But they're a different mechanism, and it's a different thing altogether. I've got lots of videos on stopcocks, how to free them. I'll give you some here, should be a description above, how to get them moving and shifting, and also how to renew them. And also with those, you can't replace them with a full wave valve. Okay, it's against the water regs. They've got no non-return valve fitted in them unless you fit a non-return valve below. Stopcocks are great because they're kind of non-return. Water won't go back down the wrong way, which is why the walkboard really love them to be fitted, and always have been. But you can fit a full wave valve above it if you want to, and use that, and just forget the stopcock. Okay. That's it. Thanks very much for watching, everybody, and catch you again next time. Derek and 33. Thanks very much. Bye bye.